So right here in this image, so this is just the means of death by suicide in the ages of 10 to 24. So these are all the different types of ways that a child could commit suicide or anything like that, and these are just the statistics about that. So, for a child to use a firearm, that would be 46.4%. Suffocation would be 38.4. Poisoning / overdose would be 7.4. Other 4.8%, and a fall of a death would be 2.9%. The fact that a child could have access to a firearm or any sort of medication to overdose or poison is very sad. Knowing that they have access to that, I think every parent should want to make sure their firearms are locked up, make sure their medication's put in a safe space. But also, parents need to talk about this kind of stuff with their children, because that way, if a parent knows that a child has some sort of complication with depression or bullying or something like that, they need to know about that kind of stuff so that they can watch out for it. And again, warning signs and risk factors all goes into that as well. So this picture that we have here is the percentage of Kentucky high schoolers who attempted suicide at least once in the past year by race and ethnicity. So the blue is for Black children, the orange is for the Hispanic children, and the gray is for white children. So in 2007, there was a 9.7% for Black students who attempted to commit suicide at least once. Again, 2007, 16.4% of the Hispanic students tried to commit suicide at least once. 7.1% of white students tried to commit suicide at least once. And now 10 years later, these statistics have gone up, stayed the same, and down. 14.5% of Black students attempted suicide at least once in the past year. 16.3% of Hispanic students have attempted suicide at least once in the past year, and 6.3% of white students have tried to attempt suicide in the past year. Even though there's a slight difference in some, a very large difference in others, these numbers should still stand out to people. These numbers need to get fixed. These students need to be talking to people, talking to counselors, talking to family members, talking to therapists. Any way that they can get help, it will help them immensely. So this next picture I got from the American Psychological Association. So basically, this is just a few ways that will help students to know that suicide is preventable. 1, know the risk factors and warning signs. You can take a suicide course online like we did in this class, just to know the risk factors and the warning signs of suicide. 2, understand that risk factors present differently in each child, which is very true. Same with warning signs as well. 3, talk with your child about suicide, ask questions, and listen. This one really stands out to me because Lots of parents aren't willing to do this, and unfortunately with mine as well. People don't understand what is running through your mind, and they don't understand what is going on with your body and your life. And having somebody that will just sit down and listen to what you're saying is a big help. Because when you get that relief of telling somebody something that you've been wanting to tell anybody that's willing to listen, you feel released and important again. 4, talk with your child's teacher and provider about your concerns. There is no harm in becoming a little bit more educated on topics. 5, utilize community resources, churches, and schools. Lots of places have different kinds of community groups, different kinds of groups that will help you talk about your issues and talk about what they're going through and ways that can help you that help them. 6, seek professional help. There's nothing wrong with going to a counselor or a therapist to talk about your problems. If anything, I felt the most relief I have ever felt. I had a very good cry, and it's an experience that if you're going through some sort of trauma, depression, anything like that, it will make you feel released. 7, reduce access to lethal means. Again, parents should be locking up whatever type of weapons they have in their house, locking up the medicine cabinet if you know that your child does kind of have the risk factors and the warning signs. 8, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. That lifeline saves millions of lives every day, and it's a really good resource that should be utilized.